All right, it's finally here. I can't believe it. We're at draft week. We have now reached the point of the off season, which is Christmas in April.
Mhm.
Everyone's excited until the Saints actually make their pick. Then they get pissed off. And I don't know about you, and it's probably because of it's a new head coach. We're coming off of a really bad season, the worst season since probably 2005, the Katrina year. But man, people are just so polarized about this draft and these picks. It's like if you don't pick you want, who these fans seem to want, the mob is going to come out on social media and burn jerseys, burn
Mhm.
season tickets. Like I will never watch a Saints game again because they're an unserious franchise.
Yeah.
I I can't think of a year that's like this. Um, Even going back to 2000 and 2006, there was just so much optimism about the upcoming draft, and we're going to, turn the Saints around. Well, in 2000, they were like, they can't get any worse. But 2006, Reggie Bush just really, I can remember the night before the draft, it officially being announced that the Houston Texans were going to select Mario Williams. And I think I don't remember what restaurant I was in. My kids were little, but you could hear the buzz across. People didn't have um, internet access very much on their
Mhm.
phones, but they were texting and things like that, and you can see the buzz coming where people like going, they're taking Mario Williams. We're gonna get Reggie Bush. We're gonna get Reggie Bush, and just that whole energy. And none of that is here. It's like there's some people that they want, but if you don't draft the right quarterback, they hate you. They're going to
Mhm.
hate the Saints. And
Mhm.
uh, how do you make of this? What do you make of this, Bob? I mean,
The the difference between 2000 2006, because both of those years, probably not coincidentally that you brought up, the Saints were bringing in a new coach.
mhm.
So it was new, it was different, and therefore exciting. But overwhelming the excitement behind that are two things. A, the fact that Mickey Loomis is still there, and the fans' attention, their hatred, their blame has turned from Dennis Allen to Derek Carr to Mickey Loomis because he's the last man standing. That's one factor. And two factors. The second factor, back in 2000 and 2006, there weren't all these general manager wannabes and self-proclaimed draft experts. They were still there undoubtedly,
Mhm.
but social media has given them, unfortunately, a voice, and that's the mob that turns on you if you don't, you in the media, me in the media, don't talk about their guy, or the Saints don't draft their guy. You're doomed, and they would rather be right than see the team win.
This is true.
100% convinced.
This is true. And I think the other thing that happened um, in 2000 and 2006, they signed Drew Brees in March of 2006. So
Mm-hmm.
the quarterback question got solved. There was no
Mm-hmm.
question that are we going to take Matt Leinart or are we going to take Reggie Bush?
Right.
That question's answered. We're taking we have Drew Brees.
Well,
Now the
even
question,
in 2000, you signed Jeff Blake, who was a
yeah,
multiple-time Pro Bowler, and you knew
mhm,
Blake could throw the thing all over the field too.
yeah, yeah, and with Drew, the question really was, can he throw? Because he was only 4 months, 3 months removed from surgery. He couldn't even hold this jersey at that press conference. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the expectations too of being a better team were really low in 2000, 2006. I can remember Pete Finney talking about, especially after Katrina, if they could win 5 or 6 games, that would be an incredible accomplishment, given the city and trying to put a team together and all these things. And they turn around and win 10 games, go to the NFC Championship game that year. Just in 2000, they won 10 games. Great defense, win their first playoff game. So none of that had happened yet. So people were just like, hey, it's when do the same old Saints show up? I can remember, and I've told this story before, I was at the game where's John Butler when I say this? I was at the homecoming game, when they reopened the dome, and a guy sitting there about a row and a half from me saying, watching Morton Anderson for the Falcons, kicking field goals. He goes, yep, there's your game winner right there. Because the mindset, same old Saints, same old Saints. This is what they do. They find ways to lose. Drew Brees and Sean Payton erase all that, and now it's like, if you're not in the championship chase, if you're not in the Baltimore, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Buffalo now, range, where you're competing every year for not just division title, but playoff wins and being a Super Bowl favorite, you're garbage.
Yep.
And people want to rebuild, but they don't really want to rebuild. They want that 2000, 2006 flipping the seasons, going from 3-13 to 10-6, winning a playoff game, go to the NFC Championship game. And then we're good to go. Now we're rolling. Now we're where we're supposed to be. And I think the quarterback position, in their minds, that is the position that's holding us back.
Yeah.
Once we fix that, the rest of the roster is going to be good enough to win this division and get back to the playoffs. That's the mindset. It really, really is. And you can see it in the way they are so locked in on their guy. And right before we start this mock draft now, let's talk about that guy who we talked about off the air, and I think you and I are pretty much in agreement on this. That guy, that quarterback, is not going to be Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. It'll likely be Tyler Shough.
I agree that it won't be Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
I don't automatically push Jackson Dart off the table.
Okay.
I get the feeling that it's sort of, I give it and this sounds like a cop-out, I give it a 50-50 odds that it's going to be Jackson Dart or Tyler Shough. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to be a quarterback, and I have a feeling it's going to be one of those two guys with their first pick.
Wow.
Yep. And that could be as early as pick number 9. Personally, I hope they manage to trade back a couple picks and pick up another day 2 selection because there's not too many that we believe have a first round grade at all, let alone a top 10 grade on Shough. There's only a handful of people that you hear have a first round grade or a top 10 grade on Jackson Dart. So all you fans, that come at me or come at Alan when we publish or post something about one of these quarterbacks saying, he'll be there in day 2, he'll be there in round 2, he'll be there at pick 40. You can't guarantee that. And that's what I keep saying. That's why and we don't know for sure, we won't find out until Thursday night, but if Kellen Moore likes either of these two or any of these quarterbacks, then why are you going to play Russian roulette and wait to hope that he's going to be there? You'll trade up in the second round. Okay, what if he doesn't make it out of the first? You have to, once you identify your guy, you have to get your guy. Otherwise you failed.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because you and I both have been advocates since the beginning of the draft thing, draft season, I guess, that the Saints need to trade back. Mm-hmm. And Mickey Loomis's attitude has been, and he's been on record to say this, that he doesn't like trading back because you don't know what you're going to get. You can hope that the guy you want isn't the guy they've got targeted on their board, and he will still be there if you drop back. The times that you want to trade back in Loomis's mind is if you've got a group of players that all have about the same grade, and they're all about the same as far as, okay, if we don't get him, we can get him. Mm-hmm. Then you feel confident these guys are all going to be there. So if we lose one or two of them, it's no big deal, because we've got two or three others mm-hmm. that we have the same grades for, and we can get those guys. That's kind of why, and I've gotten some information on this too, but that's kind of why they didn't trade up to go grab Patrick Mahomes at 11 back in mm-hmm. 2017, because they had a very high grade on Marshawn Lattimore. I think they had him rated in their top 5 of players. They had Patrick Mahomes rated right there with him, like top mm-hmm. 7. So they were going to allow the draft to dictate to them which one we're going to get, because all their mocks, all their simulations showed we're going to get one or the other.
Yes.
And we did actually get one of the other.
Yes.
We did get Lattimore. He was projected to be a top 5 pick. He didn't go until pick 11. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, it sure as hell would have been nice if we would have had Patrick Mahomes. But,
well, it's not that Lattimore was a bad pick. I mean, he was the NFL's top cornerback for several seasons.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and the big difference between that situation and this was in 2018, you had Drew Brees, you mm-hmm. had a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Now you don't. Yes. So I mean, maybe you do have a very similar grade or identical grades on. And I'm just throwing out names here: Mykel Williams, Tet McMillan, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shough, Ashton Genty. Mm-hmm. And you say to yourself, we're guaranteed to get one of these guys. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that you are. But again, the big difference is if one of those guys isn't a quarterback, you don't have a quarterback. I mean, maybe Spencer Rattler is it. I'm not completely discounting Rattler, but I'll say it, and I've said it several times. The important thing to remember about that is Kellen Moore was not the one who drafted Rattler. Kellen Moore was not the one who scouted Rattler to draft him. Kellen Moore, I have zero doubts that Kellen Moore wants his quarterback to run his system for his job security. And that's why you see so many new coaches make a move at quarterback very quickly, usually within that first year, unless they step into a situation where there's already an elite quarterback like Harbaugh did with Herbert, very rare will you find a situation like that. And that's another reason why I think the Saints go quarterback.
Yeah. And I when we talked off air, we did mention, I've mentioned this before on the show, if you think about each coaching change, you've had a quarterback brought in with them. When Mike Ditka came, he got rid of Jim Everett and brought in Heath Schuler. And he also drafted Danny Werfel. Okay. Not saying it's always a good thing, but
right.
But Jim Moore inherited Bobby Hebert, but Tom Benson brought in Bobby Hebert in '85. He didn't have one of Bum's quarterbacks. Kenny Stabler retired. They got rid of Richard Todd. Dave Wilson was there. He inherited Wilson, just like he inherited Abear, but Abear really was his guy.
Mm-hmm.
When Dick was put out of his misery, the first thing they had to address was the quarterback. What does Randy Mueller do? Randy Mueller goes and gets Jeff Blake. His offensive coordinator, Jim Haslett's offensive coordinator, said, you know what? I worked with a kid. I really like him in Green Bay. Let's trade Green Bay and we'll pick up Aaron Brooks and his only friend on the team, apparently, at Green Bay. The tight end, I can't think of his name now, number 81. I can't remember his name. I had it for a second and then I forgot it. Anyway, that was Aaron Brooks' good friend, his roommate from Green Bay. They brought both of them over. Fast forward now, it's 2006. Peyton doesn't take Aaron Brooks with him. Peyton doesn't keep Todd Bauman. Peyton gets an entirely new quarterback room. He first goes after what you call it from Dallas, Tony Romo. Tries to get Tony Romo. Before Romo started in Dallas, Parcells laughed at him and hung up the phone because he knew. Mm-hmm. But there was a debate whether they were going to draft Matt Leinart or if he could get Drew Brees to come here. Fortunately, Miami failed Brees on the physical, and we got Drew Brees. But it's just that case where it's just, you know, you don't keep the quarterback that you inherited. You bring in your guys. Mm-hmm. And I kept telling people over and over and over again, when it came to Derek Carr, the Derek Carr question, what's going to happen with Carr? The Saints weren't going to keep Derek Carr. They were going to move off of him. But the only way they could move off of him is they had to have his replacement on the roster. And here we are now in the draft. Here comes his replacement. I don't know if it's a solution, but we're at least seeing as the good possibility they're going to change their quarterback. What does this also tell you with all this talk about Tyler Shough or Shough or however to say his name? I've heard it multiple ways too. What does it say about the kind of quarterback that seems to be the prototype or the style that Kellen Moore seems to want? Because he's worked with all kinds of quarterbacks. And I think that's the other reason why I put all four of them in the picture for the show tonight. But Sanders, Dart, Milroe, Shough, what does it seem to be that he likes in a quarterback?
Well, and the short-sightedness of a large portion of the fan base cracks me up. That as soon as Moore was hired, they were like, oh, they're going to draft Jalen Milroe, or they're going to run, they're going to run out Rattler with a lot of RPOs because that's what they did with Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, Hurts is not the only quarterback that Kellen Moore has worked with. Kellen Moore worked with a year with Justin Herbert. Kellen Moore worked several years with not only Dak Prescott, but developed Cooper Rush. And I think, and again, we won't know until the quarterback selection is made, and that'll tell us who Kellen Moore's prototype is. But based off what we're hearing about what they like about Tyler Shough, what they like about Jackson Dart, that tells me that maybe Jalen Hurts wasn't Kellen Moore's preferred prototype at quarterback. Maybe it was more of a Justin Herbert, a bigger guy with a strong arm that could hit every spot on the field, but good enough athletically to move out of trouble and make plays with his legs. And Frank, you could say the same thing about Dak Prescott. Everybody likes to talk about how athletic Prescott is. Prescott's actually better when he throws from the pocket. Cooper Rush, when he's gotten his opportunities to play in Dallas when Dak was hurt. Same thing. So if that is indeed the prototype, then that's certain that 100% checks the box of what Tyler Shough is going to bring. And for the most part, checks the box on what Jackson Dart is going to bring too. Shedeur Sanders has nice accuracy, but he's not that big. Kind of a lean athlete. Frankly, I'm worried about if Shedeur goes to a team that can't protect him. I'm worried about the kind of beating he's going to take and how he's going to physically respond. Jalen Milroe is, if you're going to make draft comparisons, Jalen Milroe is this draft's Jalen Hurts. So again, you're talking about four very different quarterbacks here, with the most two similar being Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough. Mm-hmm. So again, if indeed we're right and the Saints do pick a quarterback early, that's going to tell us what Kellen Moore's preferred prototype is.
Yeah, and I'm leaning more and more towards a Justin Herbert type of quarterback, a quarterback who has outstanding height, 6'4" or above, and Herbert 6'6". Somebody who is got, they're built like a big man. They're built with a stocky chest, broad shoulders, big arms. Has a big arm, likes to throw the ball deep, throws it in a tight, compressed, just a lot of velocity on the ball. Mm-hmm. So in some ways that's Dart. In some ways that's Milroe, except for the height portion, because Milroe's got the big arm. Now Milroe is far more mobile than either Dart or Shough. It's just, I'm really curious why they like this guy so much. They seem to really, and this is funny because I'm going back to some of the draft sites to read what they have to say about Shough. And I'm seeing a lot of revisions to what they wrote earlier, especially like NFL.com.
It tells you they didn't do a lot of research on this kid initially.
Yeah. It's a lot of revisions about where he came from and what he did. And I know it's coming from feedback they're having from scouts. Mm-hmm. Because these guys are talking to the unnamed scouts and unnamed general managers who are telling them these things. This kid throws a really pretty ball. This kid is just big and stands in the pocket. This kid really got some bad breaks with some injuries and things like that. So you're seeing now, we really like, he's been in college for 7 years. I don't care about his age. He's seen a lot of defenses. That means he's more pro-ready than some of these other kids that are coming out.
That he is.
And it's really fascinating to see his evolution. And I can see why they're saying this, because now they got to cover their bases. Because we really didn't talk much about this kid because we didn't think he was going to Louisville quarterback. He didn't win anything. We're not going to talk about him. And it says something also about this class. Will Howard, that's somebody I didn't put in the picture because I'm not hearing any buzz about Will Howard at all. Will Howard, to me, I've always liked Will Howard. I've talked Will Howard up a lot on this show. Mm-hmm. My thing with Will Howard is that's the guy that you're going to probably draft if all your other guys are taken off the board. And you're now looking at somebody in the third or fourth round.
Yes.
Because that's about where Howard will go. Yes. The draft just didn't fall right. The quarterbacks all came off the board early. You couldn't trade up, that kind of thing. And now you're kind of, okay, we need to get somebody in here. This is a guy we'll probably look at. And it's unfortunate, but Will Howard doesn't have the strongest arm. And I think he gets dinged a lot because of how he looked prior to the end of Ohio State season. They're not sure if that's a real thing or if he hit his peak at the right time for Ohio State. And Ohio State had a very, very, very good offense with a lot of NFL talent. You take that same quarterback, and this is actually the question they have about Sanders. You take that same quarterback and put him on a bad team with very little talent. Is all the problems that we saw early in his career going to show up? They feel like with Shough, well, we've already seen it, and he still was able to do something. Right. So it's just an interesting view.
And here's what I'll say about Shough. And if you recall, right at the end of the season, when we briefly touched upon quarterbacks. You threw out Will Howard right away. I threw out Dylan Gabriel right away. Similar reasons to why you like Will Howard. Yeah. But we also briefly talked about Shough as a mid-round draft choice at that point. Yeah. And obviously the injury concerns, the age concerns, but I threw out that not only does he have just a tremendous arm, but he had success at Texas Tech. He had success at Louisville with Jeff Brom as his coach. And here's the two things about those systems. They are very bam, 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 bam. Fast-paced systems. You make one read, you make two read. Everything is going to be laid out right there in front of you. Bam, bam, bam. You make your reads. These are automatic things. Shough, when he was healthy, did very well in that kind of processing. Lane Kiffin's system, and I know you hate it, but it's set up in a very similar way, a very Texas Tech, very Jeff Brom, almost a modified run and shoot as far as the passing attack itself. You spread the field, bam, bam, bam. Here are your automatic reads. And that's why Ole Miss quarterbacks have not done well. Lane Kiffin quarterbacks have not done well because they haven't gone to that kind of system. Well, Kellen Moore, one of the reasons why Dak Prescott was so successful with Kellen Moore is because Kellen Moore had that sort of system. Jalen Hurts didn't have to process a whole lot last year with Philadelphia because everything was laid out right there for him. Now, Justin Herbert is a different animal. He's in the upper echelon. I won't say elite, but he's in the upper echelon of the league's quarterbacks. So that's a little bit different animal. So again, if you're looking for a style, if Kellen Moore does indeed like a Jackson Dart, like a Tyler Shough, maybe that's the reason why. Maybe it was the collegiate system does at least have similarities to what he wants to do with his passing game. What you said about Will Howard in Ohio State, I would very much say the same thing about Shedeur Sanders in Colorado. And I've said this before. Shedeur Sanders was brought up and groomed to be a quarterback. And the system that Deion Sanders ran at Colorado was specifically to make Shedeur Sanders NFL ready. Mm-hmm. They didn't even attempt to run the ball. They brought in, they already had Travis Hunter, but they brought in Will Shepard. They brought in Jimmy Horn. They brought in LeJounte Webster. You literally had the old run and shoot with Warren Moon in Houston and Rodney Peete in Detroit. And that was specifically to make Shedeur Sanders look NFL ready. I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is going to be a bad quarterback. I am just saying Deion Sanders, who is a media genius, by the way. Deion Sanders built Shedeur Sanders for this specific moment. Yeah.
He definitely had an agenda. He had an idea of what he wanted to do. He really wanted his son to win the Heisman. He really wanted to be a Heisman candidate, and it ended up being, Travis Hunter was the Heisman candidate out of that group, not Sanders. But that whole retirement ceremony of his jersey number and all that stuff, that's all marketing. And I think that's turned off a lot of teams about him because it's the same reason I wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers on this team. And I've said this before, Kellen Moore is trying to build a culture where he is the voice in the locker room, just like Sean Payton was. He doesn't have Payton's personality, though. He's a very soft-spoken, different kind of head coach. He can't be Sean Payton. But Sean Payton basically became Bill Parcells over here. Moore isn't going to have the personality to handle having another personality in the locker room saying to people, yeah, this is bullshit, or when Moore's talking, or when on Mondays after a Saints loss, having somebody out there in the media saying, yeah, that Mickey Loomis isn't putting together good players for my kid. Moore's not calling the right kind of plays. I wouldn't run that kind of offense with him. All that stuff, and I think that really turns people off within organizations.
Well, it would me if I was the coach, especially if I was a first-year coach. I wouldn't want any part of it. Here's my prediction. Shedeur Sanders gets drafted by the New York Giants, and next year, Deion Sanders is hired as head coach of the New York Giants. I'll throw it out there right now.
I really thought he was going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I really did.
So did
I. Just because it's he's been on that team, the huge spotlight, that whole bit. I disagree with you, Brian. Archie Manning took a nap when David Cutcliffe was trying to show him the kind of offense he was going to run with Eli at Ole Miss, because Archie's attitude was, it's not about me, it's about my kid, and he would try and hide from the cameras. Deion's not wired that way. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just two entirely different personalities. Deion's never met a camera he doesn't like. And that's just his personality. That's the whole primetime genre, persona. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you have to be very comfortable and very confident in your skin.
Oh, yeah.
To have a large personality like that you have to compete with. That's all. I know people, Brian.
It's not assumptions; it's predictions.
Yeah.
And there is a big difference. We're sitting here talking about the draft. That's exactly what we're doing with every single pick that we're talking about. Call them predictions, presumptions, projections. They're all the same thing. These are just things that we are projecting based off of past events, based off of things that Alan or I have been hearing either through other media outlets, or in a couple cases from people that have access to different teams, be it collegiate or pro. That doesn't mean any of these things are going to happen, but this is what we do. We sit here and make predictions.
I'm just saying, I know people, I've put together teams before, not sports teams of personalities, and I know based off of personalities who is going to dominate a conversation, who is not. And it's just people's personalities. That's all it is. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not being critical, but Shedeur Sanders with Sean McVay is going to be very, very different than Shedeur Sanders with Kellen Moore. McVay's got the hardware. McVay's got the personality to make his voice heard. Sean Payton is the same way. I'm trying to Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry,
Mike
Shanahan, Don Shula. Those personalities are so strong and so dominant that they can mold people and get people to work there. That's why so many of them are in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Kellen Moore is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that. I don't even know he's going to be a good head coach. I just know the guys who put the skins on the wall, they do it because they know how to manage personalities. Tom Tom Flores was a laid back, quiet guy, and somehow he got 2 Super Bowls out of those nutcases with the Raiders. You just have to know how to manage people, and I don't know if Moore can manage people. I don't know that yet. We'll see, but that's a huge question mark at this point because he's a first-year head coach who's never coached before. That's all I'm saying. He's trying to sell his program. I don't know if he has a personality to do it. So that's just my impression of when you're trying to decide what kind of person you want in there. He may not. I'll be honest with you, and we're going to do the mock draft right now, but I'll be honest with you, it would not surprise me to see Shedeur go in the top 3 or to the Raiders at 6. And it would not surprise me to see him fall out of the first round entirely because you get past the Saints at 9. You get past the Steelers at 21. That's it. Maybe the Rams at 23, but the Eagles aren't taking him. The Chiefs aren't taking him. The Ravens aren't taking him. Why would they? The Bills aren't going to take him. They've got their quarterback. They need other pieces. That it's not when people fall out of the draft, when people slide in the draft. This is something else that I notice people don't understand. When people slide in the draft, it's because you get to the point where that position is not a need for those other teams. That's all I'm saying. The Bengals aren't taking him at 17. The Broncos aren't taking him at 20. Just go down the Chargers aren't taking him. The Eagles, Redskins. I mentioned already. The Washington's not taking him. The Vikings aren't taking him. Detroit's not taking him. That's that, and it's not because he's not any good. It's just because they don't need that position. They need other stuff. Okay. We'll see. I just don't get. I think they're going to pass on him, Brian. I really do.
Yeah, Brian, and I'm not sitting here saying that Shedeur can't play. Actually, there's a lot of things I love about Shedeur's game. I just and again, and I don't know. I don't know which one of you said that if Shedeur is there at 9, the Saints would be dumb to pass on him. I'm not going to say that either. Like we've been saying all evening and for weeks, it all depends who Kellen Moore wants for his system. He's not necessarily sitting there saying Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Jackson Dart but Tyler Shough is better than all of them. That's too much of a blanket statement. These guys are identifying specifically what they want for their system and which quarterback is best to execute that. Maybe it is Shedeur Sanders, and if it is, I have no problem with that. Maybe it's Jackson Dart. Hell, maybe it's Kyle McCord early in the second round. I don't have a problem with any of them, unless the Saints exhaust draft capital to move up and get any one of them. If someone, if any one of them fall to 9, or even better, if the Saints trade back a few spots and get them there, I don't have a problem with any one of these quarterbacks because that's who I know that Kellen Moore believes will be a fit for what he wants to do.
The ideal thing for me is all of them fall to second round.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be perfectly brutally honest. All of them fall to the second round. All the teams pass on them, and nobody trades up because at 40, I feel like I can get somebody. I can get one of them because I have them all rated about the same, and it's yeah, we will. It'll be a lot like Dennis Allen with the 2022 draft.
Yeah.
I mean, you traded all those assets to get Penny and Olave. One guy isn't playing like a first-round pick, and the other guy can't stay healthy. And we remember that who he picked as his quarterback. So, that is an issue. I will see. If we're 3 years from now, we're sitting here arguing about another quarterback class, we know we're probably arguing about a new head coach as well. That's a very real issue. So I don't know where we go from here. All right. So let's try and let's look at the. I don't know if my picture's going to disappear or not when I jump screen here. It does. I apologize. Okay. So I'm using what's called Pro Football Sports Network Mock Draft Simulator. I'm not using PFF deliberately because PFF has all the quarterbacks rated incredibly low. I don't know why. Like they have Milrow at 100, the 100th best player. So I don't think it gives you a very realistic picture of how the draft's going to play out because everyone's available in the second round.
Yeah.
So I'm avoiding PFF right now. I'm using this site also because I think it gives you a pretty good idea of what your options are at as a draft trade. I don't want to do trades, but as draft trades, they kind of give you some pretty realistic views of draft trades. So that's possible. I've already dropped that bomb. The cornerback from East Carolina at pick 40. I've already dropped that pick.
He's a player, though. I love him.
Oh no, he is. He is. But
your sound dropped out.
how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah, that me touching and bouncing back and forth from your screens, that's what does it. Because I've got the mock draft simulator on the other screen. Okay. So I'm going to start the draft. We're going to get to round pick number 9 to begin with. The guys popping off the board already are very predictable. So far, let's see. As expected, Cameron Ward went to Tennessee. Abdul Carter to the Browns. Travis Hunter to the Giants. Will Campbell to the Patriots. Will Johnson, the cornerback, to Michigan. So that's a surprise. It's early. Ashton Genty to the Raiders. The Jets take Armin I can't say Membao. Yeah, the offensive tackle, Missouri. And the Carolina Panthers, I don't think this is realistic, but the Carolina Panthers take McMillan at 8. So at 9, I have Mason Graham sitting there looking at me, the 4th highest player. I see Shedeur Sanders at the number 7 overall player, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker,
Shamar Stewart, who, if there's a player I'm going to burn jerseys over, if we draft Shamar Stewart, I'm burning jerseys. Uh, I just don't want him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another name I see popping up a lot. Um, Kelvin Banks is popping up a lot with the Saints. I don't know if I would take the offensive tackle. The board would just have to be a total disaster for me to take a tackle now.
Yeah.
So I see Brian has already chimed in, and I agree with you. Mason Graham looks like that's probably the best player on the board.
Yeah, Mason Graham or Tyler Warren, are the two best values. But and if Dennis Allen was still the head coach and the Saints were still running a 4-3, you take Mason Graham and you're going to have one of the top defenses in the league. But that's not what the Saints are going to do. But in a way, if the board would play out that way, you can dangle the possibility, hey, the rest of the NFL, Mason Graham is still here. Tyler Warren is still here. Who wants to trade up? So if the Saints stay put with the way that board is, I don't think they draft Mason Graham, and I don't think he's a great fit for what we believe that Brandon Staley is going to run defensively. Love Mason Graham, love Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is going to change any offense he goes to, but the Saints are going to go quarterback here. They have to.
Well, and so this is my trade offers I have. And Matt, it disappears when I switch screens. So I'm going to be back in the dark again. Okay, so my trade offers I've got right now, as soon as it pops up. Chargers first one out of the box. They want to give me their 22nd pick overall, the 55th pick, and the 86th pick, and a second round pick.
And I mean, Jim Harbaugh's. You know who Jim Harbaugh is drafting.
Oh, sure. The Giants want to give me their second round pick, the 34th pick, the 65th pick, and next year's first and next year's second.
Wow.
Because they would love to get now they also want the 93rd pick from me, as well as the 9th pick. But that's how much they would love to get a hold of Mason Graham. The other offer I got, the Chiefs. The Chiefs for pick number 9 and pick 112 want to give me pick 31, pick 63, pick 66, pick 95, and the second round pick for next year.
Yeah, I thought you said this was a realistic site, Alan.
I know. Well, Mike Ditka apparently is GM at a lot of these sites.
Yeah, right. What was the Chargers offer?
The Chargers offer was, and this was probably the most realistic one.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked.
They want to give me the 22nd overall pick, the 55th overall pick, the 86th overall pick, and a second round pick next year.
You know what? Since that was the most realistic one, and since I don't want to really go out of the first round altogether, let's take that one and see what happens.
Whew, okay. So we're going to let them take Mason Graham. Yeah. Like I said, it's I'm only doing this because their trade offers are somewhat realistic.
Mm-hmm.
PFF, I have to have my little chart with me, and I kind of have to go through different scenarios. That's way too time consuming. And then there's a couple other sites that are just totally nuts. I had Baltimore one time when Mason Graham was available. Give me their entire draft to go get Mason Graham. And I'm like, no, that would not happen. Okay, so if we take him. Now, remember what I said about Loomis not wanting to trade back because you don't know what you're still going to have left over. Sanders.
Right. Well, I mean,
Warren,
forget not wanting
yeah,
to.
Sanders,
Loomis has
Walker,
never traded back ever.
yeah, Stewart, Banks, Matthew Golden. Watch all these names disappear now because we're going to accept this trade offer. But I like
Oh, yeah.
getting 55, 86, and a second next year.
Yep.
There goes Graham to the Chargers. Banks just went to the Bears. Walker to the 49ers. Stewart to the Cowboys. Sanders goes to the Steelers, who trade up to go grab him. Oh man, there goes Mikael Williams. There goes Colston.
That's
Loveland.
exactly how I figured that board would fall.
Yeah. So now, Tampa Bay wants something. Screw them guys.
Yeah.
So now you're left with Starks, the safety from Georgia, Imanori, the safety from South Carolina, Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, Tyler Booker, the offensive guard from Alabama, Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. This has got Mickey Loomis written all over it. Gray Zabel, offensive guard, North Dakota State, and Nick Scholarton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M.
Yeah. No, Scorton is the same as Shamar Stewart. They're clones of each other.
Yeah.
I would love to go Jihad Campbell or Tyler Booker here, and they both fill legitimate needs. But here's where you go quarterback. You've traded back. You've got your picks. You've got your extra pick in day 2, extra 2 picks in day 2 actually. So at this point, I got what I wanted out of the draft. I got an extra couple picks. Meanwhile, my quarterback is still on the board. I think you go quarterback here, Alan. I do. Because I need to get that checked off of the box now.
God, it's so tough because I'm with Calvin. Booker's 10 years at guard.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. And Campbell is your Demario David replacement right now. I love both those two players. I make no sense, but you have to go quarterback. Okay, for the fun of it.
All right.
Pick one of those two guys. I don't care which one because they're both needs. And don't make another move before 40, and let's see how that board plays. We'll play Russian roulette.
Okay. Campbell or Booker, which one you like better?
I love Campbell as a player.
I do too.
But Booker's your starter right now. And I know you and I both love both Georgia guards, Donovan Jackson from Ohio. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. But wow, let's go Booker.
Okay, Green Bay's right behind me. I think Green Bay's going to take Campbell. I will take Booker, but I bet you Campbell goes right to Green Bay, right behind me. All right, here we go. Booker. No, they took Josh Simmons. They took the offensive tackle.
Okay.
Pierce just went to the Rams.
Yeah.
There goes the Dart just went to the Giants at 31.
We're spinning that chamber. One click gone.
I'm at pick 40 though. My quarterbacks now at pick 40 that are available. Hide that. All right. Offense. I've got Jalen Milroe and Shough, however you say his name, has shot up to the 82nd overall pick. And I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago when I would do this, Shough was like right there at Riley Leonard at 154, way near the bottom.
Well, and let's see. Obviously, the Titans got their quarterback. You said the Steelers moved up to get Shador, which I can see.
Mm-hmm.
And Dart went to the Giants.
Yep.
You still have
Trey Harris.
What's that?
Raiders took Trey Harris. Bears took Trayvon Henderson. The Titans took Revel, the cornerback from East Carolina. Campbell lasted because the Giants and the Chiefs switched places. Campbell went to the Chiefs at 34.
Mm. I mean,
so best available I've got right now. I've got Hampton, the running back from North Carolina. Our favorite cornerback, Trey Amos. The offensive tackle from Oregon, Connerly. Kenneth Grant staring at me. Milrow at 40. Harrison, the cornerback from Kentucky, at 42.
I like him
Jackson,
too.
the guard. Well, we don't need to worry about guard anymore, but Donovan Jackson, the guard at Ohio State. Yeah, I know. That's the whole thing about mocks. So much of it is determined based on the CPU. Yeah, Alfred Collins is going to be there for a while. Calvin, I've done this enough times. I know about where Alfred Collins falls now.
Yeah, he's going to be day 3.
Yeah, the first pick was Booker from Alabama, the offensive guard. And Grant falls to the middle of the second round. Sometimes he gets grabbed early by someone like the Bills or the Raiders, but most of the time I see him go to the 49ers around 43, 44, somewhere around there.
Well, I mean, yeah, we played Russian roulette. Dart didn't get out of the first round. Shador didn't get out of the first round. And we're left
he'll be
with
available for a little while. Jaden Higgins.
We're left with Jalen Milrow and Tyler Shough.
Yep.
I don't know about you. Now, if Kellen Moore loved either one of these guys coming into the process, then the draft worked out exactly how it couldn't have worked out better for you. You got a starting interior offensive line, and you still managed to pick up an extra day, pick or two in day 2. But again, we just played Russian roulette, and we saw two of the quarterbacks come off of the board, earlier than what several of you self-proclaimed draft experts said that they would go, because that's exactly the way this is going to play. It's only going to take one other team to pull the trigger, to blink first and pick that second quarterback after Cam Ward. After that, the board is going to be shuffled, because every other team that's going to need a quarterback, Saints included, are going to say, okay, what do we have to do to get our quarterback? We got to get him now, or ASAP, before this team or that team does. And that's exactly the way that Thursday night is going to play out. Yeah.
So Mason Taylor, for your question, Brian, he's at 46. He's a 46 rated player. He's going to go pretty soon, but he is still on the board. He's not listed my best available right now. My best available, like I said, was Hampton, the running back from North Carolina, Trey Amos, who I've always liked at 40, the cornerback from Ole Miss, Connerly, the tackle from Oregon, Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan, Milrow, Harrison, the cornerback from Kentucky, and the offensive guard, Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. That's 43. So, I don't want to play Russian roulette anymore. I think this is where you're supposed to take your quarterback. I think they go for Shough here if it falls this way. It's hard.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's hard
I know.
to pass on Milrow.
I know.
It really is. Because I think Milrow's got the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
At worst, you're picking out the quarterback next year, and you've got your Taysom Hill kind of guy to do gimmick plays with. Because this is Taysom Hill's last year as a Saint. I agree with. Yeah. I hate to say it this way, because I think Taysom Hill's a unicorn, but I just feel like with Milrow, you can come up with gadget plays, and while you try and develop him into something. Um, but yeah, I'm just going to take Milrow here and see what happens.
That's fine.
There goes Milrow. Xavier Watts goes to the Bears. Next play. Harrison went to the Cowboys. Amos just went to the Dolphins. Bastards. There goes Royals to Utah State. Benjamin Morrison went to Green Bay. So the Saints on the board again. Kenneth Grant is still there at 37. This is with the 55th overall pick. Now, this is an added pick that we didn't normally have. And Mason Taylor's still there. Carson Swearinger from UCLA is there. Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, is there.
I like him.
Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo, is there.
You got to go edge rusher. I mean, our cornerbacks, Hairston, Ravel, and Amos came off the board. Benjamin Morrison, another cornerback I like, came off the board. Because of that, we have our quarterback, we have our guard. You got to go edge rusher. Let me see.
It's hard for me because Kenneth Grant's staring at me.
I know he is, but are you playing a 3-4 or a 4-3? If you're playing a 4-3, you give me Kenneth Grant. I fully agree with you. I don't have to remind you of the back and forth that we had about Hassan Reddick the other day. This time we're switching roles.
I know. Alfred Collins is there at 65. UCLA's. I'm looking at my edge rushers right now. So you've got Princely. I'm not even going to attempt to say this man's last name.
I hope the Saints do draft. I'm going to call him the Humanian Devil if the Saints draft him, because I have a hard time with it too. But I like him a lot.
Now they've got Braden Swinson rated right beneath him. They got UCLA edge player 64, Swinson at 67. But the Ole Miss edge rushers there, defensive tackles, Kenneth Grant, Darius Alexander, Alfred Collins, Omar Norman Lott, Shamir Turner, and Ty Robinson are all there. Cornerbacks, boy, it really drops off after this. Jacob Parrish, Kansas State, Dorian Strong, who I like, Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Denzel Burke. Yeah, now they're like in the hundreds now. Zion Alexander, those kind of guys.
Yeah. I mean, we could have got a cornerback at 40, which I have been telling people, but we needed to go quarterback there. With that, with that pick, you got to go edge rusher here. Because you said Trey Harris came off the board too, right? The wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm going edge rusher.
Yeah, your wide receivers here. Jaden Higgins is still on the board. Kyle Williams, Jack Best.
I like Higgins.
Oh, I love Higgins. And, Higgins falls a lot because people are in love with 5'11" speedsters.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was able to get Calvin's boy from Tennessee in the fifth round. Because he's a big, tall, but he's a fast receiver with a very limited route tree. Okay, so if I go edge, oh man, killing me to leave Grant on the board.
Again, if Dennis Allen is still my defensive coach, I go Grant, and I'm loving the pick, but he's not. I
know. Dante Thornton, thank you. Yeah, it was really nice to get him in the fifth, and that's his knock. Limited route tree, so teams are scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So which edge should I take? The UCLA edge. I cannot say his name, or Princely from Ole Miss.
I want the Umanian. Yeah, I want the Umanian Devil. I love my draft profile on him. Love this kid.
Okay, I'll take him. He's 61. It's not really a reach. This is pick 55. So here's your edge coming off the board. I do have an idea for a nose tackle, and Calvin, some of these guys really hang around for a long time.
Yeah,
a lot of
they don't fill up the stat sheet,
and they don't bend very well. So
yeah.
That's the knock on Alfred Collins. That's not a pass rusher. The knock on the Kentucky kid, he doesn't bend. So here we go. Princey's going, and he's gone. All right. So let's see where we are now.
I can give you 5 more minutes.
I know. My draft is frozen, though. Why is my draft freezing? I just picked. Come on, draft. Get moving. It should be going. All right, I'm going to switch over here. I know you got to go, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob's got another draft thing to do after this. So far we've got Booker, Milrow, and Princely, who's your mama? And my draft. Oh, okay, here we go. Now it's going. All right, now it's back up. All right, so Swearinger went to Buffalo. I'm sure Carolina's going to take Grant right here. Yeah. No. Grant is still sitting there. Why is Grant still sitting there? Alfred Collins just went to Buffalo.
Can't believe someone would grab Alpha. Can't believe someone would grab Collins before. That's an Eagles pick.
Yeah. Ozzie Trapillo, Steve Trapillo's son, just went to the Cleveland Browns. Kenneth Grant has not moved. He is still there. We're now at pick 71, and the Broncos are trying to trade with me. We're not going to do any more trades, so I'm just minimizing that. But,
is our Iowa State receiver Higgins still there?
Yes, he is.
This is where I grab him.
He's right there, pick 66. Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo, went first. So Higgins is now a New Orleans Saint.
And with that, I'm going to jump off of the air.
I got you. Well, we only got a couple more picks left because we made that trade. Kenneth Grant finally goes to Dallas with the 76 overall pick. Things should be coming up in just a second here. I know you got to go, Bob. All right, 86 pick. Denver's still trying to trade with me. So best available I've got left now. We took Kyle Williams, Chris Paul, the linebacker from Ole Miss. Shough is there at pick 86. Omar Norman Lott and Shamar Turner are still there. And Jacob Parrish, the cornerback from Kansas State, is still there.
Well, I mean, I hate to double up on schools, but you got to look at Chris Paul. He's a good linebacker. That Mississippi defense was hell last year.
My only problem with him, he's undersized. We have not taken a corner yet. Jacob Parrish, the first corner, it's popped up. And he's the 87th ranked corner. My problem with Jacob Parrish is I think his height. Yeah, he's 5'9".
Demetrius Knight, the linebacker from South Carolina, is he still on the board?
Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. This is taking a second to notice what I'm doing. Yes, he is. He is the 95th overall. He's rated 95th on the board. This is pick 86.
Oh, wow.
On that pick is 112.
I like Paul, but I really like Knight too. Little foreshadowing for my mock draft piece that I'm going to be releasing Thursday morning, by the way.
Okay. Well, he's probably going to still be there at 112.
Yeah, he probably will be. And I can't remember where I took him in my mock because I walked away from my sheet to smoke a cigarette.
Well, I'll let y'all know. Omar Norman Lott is still there as defensive tackle, and Deion Walker is rated number 105. He is still there, defensive tackle.
I mean, with either one of those good guys, you do get your big body guy in the middle. And even though they traded for Shough, you still need a big body there.
Oh, we need somebody to stop the damn run.
Yeah. Yeah. I go defensive tackle or Chris Paul. If I go defensive tackle, then I'm taking a gamble that either Paul or Knight are still going to be on the board a little bit later.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the gamble that that he's going to be there, and I'm going to jump on. I'm taking the big boy. I'm sorry. I need a space heater. I don't give a damn if he can't press the pocket.
No, because I mean, even if you don't get a line and Pete Werner in the middle one more year.
Yeah. I got to get Deion Walker just because I need a big fat guy that's going to tie up people. Even if it's just for 2 downs. Just give me the fat guy.
But on that note, I'm going to jump off.
Okay.
Folks, no Bayou Blitz tomorrow. Although Brendan and I are going to release a couple of taped analysis pieces that we've done over the last couple of days, including one I'm about to do now. So watch out for that. But we won't be live tomorrow, mainly because you will see us for 3 straight days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, from start to finish. Our annual Bayou Blitz Draftathon. And Alan, you will be joining us at least on Thursday, right?
Yes, I'll be there Thursday night. I'm not sure how long I'll be on Friday night. I will try and jump on Friday night though, but I'll be there all Thursday night. And unfortunately, Knight went off the board at pick 80.
All right, so we'll have you joining us. I know Eric Asher is going to jump in and out. Jordy Haltberg's going to jump in and out. Tyrone Hughes, not on night 1. He was with Ken Trahan. Tyrone Hughes will be joining us. There'll be other couple former Saints. Maybe Pierre Thomas makes an appearance too. So yeah, we're going to have just like the old Jerry Lewis telethon. I'll play the part of Jerry Lewis. We'll have guests as well rolling in and out. So make sure you tune in.
All right, I'm back. I don't know what happened there, but I'm back. Okay. That's what happens when you switch screens like this. This thing really freaks out. That's as far as I wanted to go. Pick 112 is on the board. 112. You've got best available. Let's see. Wow. Best available is a lot of players. A lot of my defensive tackles are still there. A couple of my edge rushers. I really need a running back. I haven't taken a running back yet. I'm taking, I should honestly double up at guard. Guards are really rated low now. My running backs that I have available are Tootin from Virginia Tech, Damian Martinez, who I love, Miami of Florida, Ollie Gordon the second from Oklahoma State, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. I know a lot of people like Jalen Blue. He's rated pretty low, but he's still out there. Jaden Blue, he's ranked 200. Isaiah Bond, for some reason, is really low on the boards too. The other thing I got is at pick Dante Thornton is pick 124. I mean, ranked 124th player. Ty Felton, the receiver from Maryland, 118. Savion Williams, 112, which is this is where they think Savion Williams should go. Probably Blue, yeah, and he also puts the ball on the ground a lot. So it's tough. It's tough with him. I'm probably taking Damian Martinez right here because I know he's not going to last to pick 131. I've got my receiver, my corner, my edge, my quarterback, offensive guard, defensive tackle. I just don't have my cornerback, and cornerbacks are not very good. Cornerbacks I've got Jordan Hancock at 117, Kobe Bryant at 120. That's probably my best corners they've got left with any kind of size to them. Neither of those guys are going to last all the way to pick 131. So this is the hard part. If I don't take Martinez, I take a cornerback here like Jordan Hancock from Ohio State. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. I'm probably going to end up with someone like Blue. So we're going to take Jordan Hancock here. As much as I love Damian Martinez, I'm probably going to be able to get some of these. There's going to be a running back still there late in the draft. This is the problem that we run into. Once you take a quarterback, it kind of screws everything else up. So that's about as far as I really wanted to go in the draft. I don't want to go in too much past the fourth round because now you're just reaching for anything. And there's so many trades that could happen between now and then. But my point was I wanted to show to everybody that once you start taking some of these guys off the board, it becomes hard. You need to have extra picks. This is with 2 extra picks, and I'm able to fill a guard, quarterback, edge rusher, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and a cornerback. Okay? That's with 2 extra picks. If I don't have those 2 picks, I don't have 2 of those players. The moral of the story is they've got to trade down at some point because you simply don't have enough picks to address all your needs. So yeah, I'm sure they're at me. Yeah, here I am now at pick 131. Martinez is still there. Wow. Ollie Gordon is still there. Dylan Sampson's still there. Wow. Okay then. We'll take Martinez. Bang. I've got my running back now. This draft kind of fell the way I wanted it to fall. I'm impressed. I really am. I did not think it would last that long. Now my next pick is 184. That's in the 5th round. I know. End of the 6th round. Yeah. Dante Thornton went to the Jets. Bastard. But this is about where he fell. That's about where he fell when I got a 5th round pick from a trade I made. I got a 5th round pick. I was able to pick up Dante Thornton. So, rotten bastard. All right. Meantime, we went an hour and 20 minutes late into this show. I'll let you guys know what the other picks are later on, but join us on the Bayou Blitz draft night when the Saints are on the board. Jump over. I'll be a special guest on it. It'll be Brendan, Bob, and I. Brendan and Bob will do the entire draft from the show, and we'll be back here next Tuesday night to be critical of the picks that Kellen Moore made on his first draft. In the meantime, thank you guys for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.